So here's my 75-gallon Solomos River or Upper Amazon River biotope. I've got 6 angels, 13 cories, 6 black skirts, and 3 bristlenose plecos in here. So the first order of business is to drain the tank, get all that wood and plants and sponge filters and substrate out. Here we go. All right, everybody, so I've moved all the fish and plants into this 20 rack. I've got, I guess we'll start down here. I got the 2 sponge filters, small sponge filters I had. I threw in that tank just to keep the cycle going, just so I have them for future. I did not put any plants in with these rainbow cichlids because as you can see, they are a little bit tough on plants. I put a couple swords in with these rainbow fish, Cinnamogosa signifers, as we've seen. I put a sword in with the knife live bears, and I put another sword in with the baby signifers. Obviously, I didn't plant any of these, I just kind of threw them in there. And this is where all of our fish and other 2 swords are. So I put 3 angels in this, the 1 male and then 2 females with that one. And I've got all the black skirts and 2 bristlenose, the male albino and the female chocolates in there as well. So they're all in there. Oh, I also put all the frog bit in these 2 tanks as well. And this one, as you can see, I've got our big male, the black female, and then the other female here. I've got all the cories. Those are the bronze cories. And I've got the 1 male chocolate there. And I put him by himself without the other bristlenose because he's a little bit ornery. So so that's how we are for now. And then what I'll end up doing here next is start to break down the 75, get it all cleaned up and drilled and prepped for this room. All right, stay tuned for that. All right, everybody, so the next step is we're gonna break down the canister filter that's on this. I have a Fluval 407, and we'll unhook that and get that all cleaned out, and I'll show a little bit of that. On this tank, just so you know, I had the 407 and 2 small sponge filters. So I never clean them all on the same day or at the same time. I would clean a sponge filter this week, another one next week, the pre-filter another week, the inside of the canister another week. And each of those times I just rinsed everything in tap water. Never had any issues with lost fish or ammonia spikes or anything like that. I know we've got some chlorine in our water, maybe it's not a ton, but I think a quick rinse with cold water is not going to kill a whole lot of your beneficial bacteria. I know a lot of people say otherwise, but there's been tons of studies out there that have shown the length of contact with cold water, you know, minute, 2 minutes, that type of thing, is not going to be detrimental to your beneficial bacteria. So that's what I do. Certainly I'm going to do that this time because I'm going to break it all down. Not sure if I'm going to use it in the final setup when I get this tank moved. If I'm going to use a Linian piston air pump, or if I'm going to hook up the canister again. Really depends a lot on wattage, how much electric I have left on that circuit. So kind of just going to wait and see. So anyway, let's get this thing cleared up and we'll go from there. Thanks for tuning in. So here's my canister under the tank. What I did is I just, this is all set up here, it's unplugged. I just pull this valve up, that shuts off those intake and output hoses, and then you unlock it. And then the nice thing about these Fluval 407s, or the 700s, or the 07 series anyway, is that, you know, now that all is set, I can take out this entire canister and service this and clean it separately. So let's take that to the sink. Okay, this comes apart super easy. Just undo these tabs here, and then this top part comes off. Okay, that's it. The impeller is in here. There's the impeller. I'm gonna grab a toothbrush I use for cleaning and give this a good clean. It's got a ton of little snails in there. I've never had any issues with them getting in my impeller, but you find a lot inside, at least I do in mine. So I'm gonna grab that toothbrush and be right back. Okay, now I'm back. I found an old toothbrush, or actually start with a new one, but just keep one for your aquarium things, lids, filters. It's really great for getting off algae and just dirt, detritus. Again, like I said earlier, normally when I clean this, service this, this is exactly what I do. I just rinse it in tap water and never had any issues. I just use cold. I don't use hot. And I just go real quick. I don't do like a big time clean, at least in my mind, but I do try to get all dirty surfaces. Sometimes I even pull out the impeller. I can get that out. And then give that just a real gentle brush. Make sure, you know, no snails or a little piece of gravel are in there. Give the impeller housing a little, I'm going to give it a little bit better clean this time, just because I'm completely breaking it down for the time being. I don't want to keep all this dirty media in here while it's not being used, because it won't have any air and all that bacteria will go really bad, and you're going to have to clean it anyway when you go to hook it back up. So make sure, if you're going to have it not run for a while and not with oxygen, that you totally tear it down. Okay, so that's the top housing. Make sure it's got all the water out. Give that a little inside these hose housings. I give a little quick brush, little rinse. Okay. Next, I took out this cap. Again, little baby snails on there, some detritus. Quick rinse with the toothbrush, that's all clean. Next, I'm going to take out these pre-filters. All I do here is just give it a little bit of a rinse and a squeeze. And really, once that runs kind of clear, then it's good. Set that aside. The other one, I probably clean this, I would say probably about 5 weeks or so, 6 weeks, and it was, you know, heavily stocked. Botanical aquarium. So, and it's, you know, not too shabby. And a lot of people maybe clean it once a year or every 6 months. Probably could have got away with that, but like I said, with the botanical type aquarium where you have sticks and leaves, a lot of organics, I feel it's probably better to just err on the side of too often. Of course, I'm always watching my nitrates to see where that's at. I think in the beginning of the tank's lifespan, I think, you know, when it gets into the 10 or 20 ppm of nitrate, you know, give your, whether it's your sponge filter or the gravel vac or a pre-filter, or if it's a canister like this, give it a quick clean, change the water, and then that just goes back in like that. Okay, now we're going to get into the baskets. And nicely with these 407, it just lifts right up, just like that, and that dirty water. Empty out the bucket. Give that a quick rinse. This is pretty much what I do when I service this thing. You can see I'm just, you know, moving with some purpose, not going super fast. I'm going to place this back here so it doesn't get dirty. Just move with purpose and take these out. This is some granular peat that helps give that kind of black water tanned look. I think it's great, so I love using that. I'm just going to set that aside. I'm not going to rinse it, probably just going to keep it. Rinse out these bio balls and just the racks where they're housed. Again, this is just cold tap water. You can see it's not crazy dirty. Give it another bio ring. I'm not going to even take them out of there. I'm just going to give it a good rinse. Set that aside. Here's my sponges. This is some fine filter. I just throw this away. So that'll be garbage. Here's the coarse sponge. The mechanical. You can see how dirty that is. Much more dirty than the pre-filter, which is probably a little more coarse. The pre-filter, this is a little bit finer, but not too fine. These are usually pretty dirty. So give that a rinse. Another one. Fluval sends in, or they make inserts to fit in these 407s. Or you could just grab some sponge. You can buy pretty cheap in big sheets and just cut it to size. I think these are Fluval sponges. I'm going to give this housing a good rinse and rub down. Okay, the last one is another mechanical filtration. Of course, this also has biological on it. I really like sponge for filtration. I think you get both, best of both worlds. Super porous, so a lot of opportunity for biological filtration, but also obviously great for mechanical as well. Whereas boiler rings, not too much mechanical, really all biological filtration. I don't use any chemical filtration, so no carbon or any of that Purigen, none of that stuff. I want to keep the tannin look. Try to keep it as natural as possible in terms of what's in my tanks. And I'm just going to place this back, just give that a good rinse. These just slip right back on top. I'm not going to replace the fine filter right today. We'll save that for when I set it up next time. And there you go, one more little rinse there on the outside. Give it a good shake. Goes back in there. Here's the top. Goes on top there. And then here's the top housing. Give a quick look. Make sure I got all the detritus and any snails off. Get any excess water out as much as we can. And then I'll just put it right back on. All right, so now that the canister itself is removed and all cleaned, next we're going to get this intake and pre-filter detached and get all the hoses out. So there's the pre-filter, and then here's the return from the canister. And you just gotta undo the suction cups and release that from the tank. You can see in the top there what kind of hard water we have up here in northern Ohio. Pretty hard, although the pH is only 7.4, so excuse the mess here in the cabinet, but trying to get this all off with one hand while holding the camera in the other, and get that done. So finally get that released. I gotta drop that behind the tank and get the return piece. I'm a big fan, as you can see, of the corium salts and fertilization. You see I've got some root tabs there, waiting for my next setup, but right now I'm using liquid. So here we go, we got all the pieces, the hoses out, and we'll get this over to the sink and get it cleaned up. And we're off. Whoops, I forgot one piece, so I'm gonna hustle back to the tank. I dropped the intake and the pre-filter, so I'll get that. I had to disconnect that from the hose. So grab that, made a little bit of a mess back there, not too bad. And let's check the back here. Yep, got everything. And we'll get that all cleaned up. Here we go. All right, now that I've got all the equipment out, now it's time to get all the substrate. I've got these media bags, big media bags, like 11 by 14. I put a bunch of gravel in there. This substrate is mainly just gravel and some fluval stratum, and I think a little bit of crushed coral. So it's time to get that out. Okay, I got all the substrate out. So the tank is empty. Now it's just a matter of getting it outside, get it cleaned, and start drilling. Complete fail. I didn't think the back was tempered glass. I figured the bottom was. And of course, you cannot drill tempered glass. And I got about halfway through the back, and it completely shattered out. So now we're back to the drawing board here. I've got to try to find a 75-gallon to complete this tank build. So that's where we are, Biotopers. Top of the 75 rack is still empty. Pretty bummed out about trying to drill that the back of that 75 and it being tempered. Thought it wasn't, but it was, and I felt pretty good because I got halfway through the glass. Seemed to be good, and then splash, it shattered. So lesson there, do extra homework on used tanks that you are not sure about. You can try to test them with the polarized glasses and the LED screen or LCD screen. Thought I did that, but you know, the back was painted, so I couldn't do it, but I, you know, I did the other sides, and guess I just didn't test it right. So now the challenge is, you know, do I buy all new tanks? I've got a local guy that can get me a bunch of them for 200 each for 75s that are not tempered in the back, or do I try looking for used tanks, trying to find out if they're tempered, and go through all that through Craigslist and OfferUp and Facebook Marketplace and all those things one at a time for $75 or $100 a tank. So that's gonna be challenged. It's certainly a hiccup. It's certainly a bump in the road. We're not gonna stop building out the Biotope gallery, but certainly am bummed. Stick around, be sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you like this kind of content and you're interested to see how this gallery comes together, please share it and give it a like. We really appreciate the support, and we'll see you the next time, and I promise the next video will be a good one. Thanks so much.